What's up, everybody? It's your boy Tino, and welcome to Tino's Time. And on this episode, we're going to do a monthly update of everything that's going on in the baseball world. It's July. July is gone. It's past. It's came and it's gone. The trade deadline is came and passed. All-Star game is came and passed. July had a lot of stuff that went down. We saw so many people get traded. If you didn't listen, go check out my trade deadline special if you don't know where all the new faces are in new places. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the guys that got traded on this episode. But if you want to know all the details and all the information of all the people that got traded during the trade deadline, which was a crazy one this year, go check out my other shows on at Tino Time 1996 on YouTube. But let's not waste any time, and while I'm talking about the trade deadline, let's talk about what's actually going on in the baseball world, and let's get to some news. The New York Mets did not sign right-hander Kumar Rocker, the 10th overall pick in the amateur draft, before Sunday's 5 p.m. signing detail. This is clearly not the outcome that they wanted for Coomer. Nothing but success moving forward, acting Mets general manager Zach Scott said in a statement. We're excited about the player we have signed and look forward to watching them develop and contribute to the organization in the years to come. And not to mention, this is the team that just got Javier Baez from the Chicago Cubs, and yes, they did have to give away their fifth overall prospect, but Javier Baez is one deadly player, and he came in and he hit a home run in his first game. I cannot believe that, but I cannot believe the Mets were not able to sign that guy because he looked really good from what I saw in college. Hopefully, he is able to come back and we see him in the MLB in the future. Speaking of the other side of New York, let's talk about what the other guy on the Cubs, the other guy the Cubs traded away, Anthony Rizzo, on the New York Mets. He hit 2 home runs in 2 days in his first 2 games for the New York Yankees. I guess welcome to New York, Rizzo. I mean, hey, New York Yankees are a fan. I mean, that New York Yankee fans are happy. What about Chris Bryant, too? He hit a home run on his debut. I just said it. Also, Javier Baez hit a home run on his debut for the Mets. This is the first time that I've seen, and I think this is the first time actually in MLB history, that 3 players from the same team went to their new teams and hit a home run in their debuts. I posted something on Instagram. I was like, I guess all the ex-Cubs love their new teams. But hey, I mean, I guess that's what it takes to win, right? You got to do what you got to do. D. Gordon, if you don't know who D. Strange Gordon is, I'm sorry, D. Gordon, he was a great second baseman for the Miami Marlins a few years ago, and he's been on another few other teams throughout his career the last few years. He is elected to go to free agency, and hopefully he can find a team in the future because he's always a good defensive second baseman, and the speed that man has is ridiculous. So if some team needs some speed, go out there and get him. But you know what? D. Gordon, you'll probably find a home somewhere, and hey, that's not a bad thing, and maybe you will be a contender. But enough about the news and all. I know I didn't talk about much news, but let's get into the injuries. And this injury season has been ridiculous this year, people. It's crazy to see how many people that are going on the injured list and coming off and going back on it. We saw Francisco Tatis Jr., he went out again. He left the game yesterday with a separated shoulder, and now this is the 3rd time that this has happened this year to him. And honestly, if I were the Padres, they just went out and got Adam Frazier from the Pittsburgh Pirates, and Francisco Tatis is your future, and if you do not want this continuously happen to him. So hopefully they put him on the 10-day DL, and they're hoping that he can come back after 10 days. But if this continues to happen, maybe he needs to have that shoulder surgery that they recommend so he can come back healthier for next year. And the Padres, you guys are in a good spot. Adam Frazier can do the work at shortstop or second base, or you got so much depth on that team that you could, I know Francisco Tatis is a great superstar, but you got to get him healthy. Speaking of another superstar, Chris Sale has now made a few rehab starts, and manager Alex Cora has said that he should be back very, very soon. He is expected to be out until at least August 12th, but around that timeline in a few weeks, we could probably see Chris Sale, one of the most deadly pitchers in the MLB, back very, very soon. And hey, that would not be bad because the Red Sox need some pitching. And the Red Sox are a team that really didn't do too much at the deadline. And I didn't talk about them. They went out and they got Kyle Schwarber. But other than that, they didn't really go out. On the other side of the south side of the other Sox in the MLB, the White Sox, Billy Hamilton was out on the DL. He went on the DL again with the right oblique strain, and he will be out until August 15th. Eloy Jimenez, he came back from a torn pectoral muscle, and he came back and he hit a home run for the White Sox. He won him the game versus the Royals, but then he came out as a precautionary on Thursday versus the Royals, and we did not see him all weekend with the groin injury, but it looks like he will be back in the lineup on Tuesday versus the Royals at home. Also, the other outfielder for the Chicago White Sox, Luis Robert, seems like he might be back on Tuesday. I heard that Jimmy Lambert went back to Charlotte this after the White Sox won the walk-off, after Brian Goodwin hit the walk-off. I saw that Jimmy Lambert went back to AAA, so maybe on Tuesday we see Luis Robert come up, but it cannot be it is very possible we either see him on Tuesday or maybe we'll see him this weekend versus the Cubs. But either way, Luis Robert looks like he is on his way back, and hey, the White Sox need some offense and some hitting because they have not done very good. Eddie Rosario, he went on the DL too from the Cleveland Indians. Adonoman issues. My bad. I can't speak. I'm sorry. I know I always say I can't speak, but there are just some words that I cannot pronounce, and I'm really bad with that. But anyway, Eddie Rosario is expected to be out until at least August 13th, and there is something that Adam Savali from the Cleveland Indians could be back possibly later this month, and there is a report that possibly Shane Bieber could even be back by September 1st. So maybe next time we're talking, we'll be talking about Shane Bieber making his return. Another injury is Nick Goodwin from the Detroit Tigers. He went out. Michael Brantley, he has an ankle injury, and he looks like he won't be out too long. He is expected to come back in a few days, but not having Michael Brantley in that lineup for a few days is really, really not good, even though the Astros got so many players. Kansas City Royals, they don't really have too many injuries going on, but I just cannot believe they traded away Jorge Soler. That is just crazy, people. I cannot believe that they got rid of Jorge Soler. I know Royals ain't going nowhere, but Jorge Soler was somebody I really thought that they were going to build around. And, also one of the injuries, Josh Donaldson went on the injured list with a hamstring. So, Josh Donaldson, you could probably, I don't want to see anybody ever get hurt, but Josh Donaldson get better, and maybe, I'm surprised he's somebody that didn't get traded, to be honest, people. Francisco Lindor, I don't know if you guys saw, but that was one of the reasons why they went out and got Javier Baez. The New York Mets we just talked about Javier Baez. He had a home run in his debut for the Mets, and maybe that was a big reason on why the Mets went out and got him, because Francisco Lindor looks like he'll be back very soon, but you also don't want to rush him back, especially because if you are in a playoff race, you don't want to lose him to the point that, because Francisco Lindor and Javier Baez at second and short in the playoffs is deadly. But you know what? And that is enough about the injuries, people. I am so tired of talking about injuries this season. It's ridiculous. I just want to see everybody healthy. I want to see everybody get right. I want to see everybody just be healthy. I hate seeing these guys get hurt. Speaking, one more injury before I forget, Tyler Glasnow. Looks like he will probably be out for the season, and that is a huge loss for the Rays. Hopefully he's able to get better and get back soon. Tyler Glasnow, he is a great pitcher. But now let's actually talk about some players, and let's go into all of the leaders coming out of July. July, we saw a lot, like I said, we saw a lot of crazy things in 31 days. We saw people change teams. We saw guys hit walk-offs. We saw crazy comebacks. We saw teams get no-hitters. Guys almost had no-hitters. It was just crazy. Month of July, and it's the dog days of summer, people. Right after the trade deadline, right after the All-Star break, they always call it the dog days of summer because this is where we find out what teams are real, what teams are not. And we kind of already did the trade deadline, but anyway, you know what? I just love baseball. But now let's get into the hit leaders. for the American League, and let's go into all of the leaders for average, home run, RBIs, etc., etc. Average leader at the end of July is Vlad Guerrero Jr. He's batting at 327 right now, and Vlad Guerrero is having a phenomenal season. Speaking of having phenomenal seasons, let's talk about Shohei Ohtani. He is having another great season. Shohei Ohtani is 37 home runs, and he's ridiculous. I cannot believe that he is doing what he is doing as a pitcher and a hitter. And I don't know how long, I don't know if they'll be able to do this forever, but it's just so much fun to watch. And now I get to tell my kids I watched a pitcher and a hitter. That's just awesome. For the Red Sox, though, Rafael Devers is leading the AL right now with 82 RBIs. Leading in runs is Vlad Guerrero Jr. Vlad Guerrero, again, you're just having a phenomenal season. He has 78 runs, and his teammate Bo Bichette has 78 runs also, and that is a big reason why the Blue Jays are staying competitive, and they went out and got Jose Barrios from the Minnesota Twins, and this man pitched a 5-hitter today and helped them win. Hey, that looks like the Toronto Blue Jays are trying to stay, and they're trying to compete in the AL East. Leading in hits, it's Cedric Mullins with 121. Leading with stolen bases in the American League is Whit Merrifield. And Whit Merrifield, he was a guy I thought that was going to be traded, and I was surprised the team didn't pick him up. But he leads the American League with 25 stolen bases right now. And hey, if Kansas City could try to find a way to keep him, maybe they'll be able to build around. The Salvador Perez and the Whit Merrifield. We'll have to see. But, that's just crazy because I was surprised that he wasn't traded. That's all. But now let's talk about the pitchers and who's leading in which categories. The losses right now, not very good for Baltimore. Jorge Lopez has 12 losses, and that ain't going to do it for you, Baltimore. That's why you're in the bottom of the barrel. But, hey, at least you'll get another draft pick. In ERAs, Lance Lynn of the Chicago White Sox has a 1.91 ERA, and he looks like he's going to be the number one starter for the White Sox when it comes playoff time. Leading in Ks, Garrett Cole has been kind of having a sticky situation. Literally sticky situation. Since they did all the sticky stuff, he hasn't had a very good second half. He's had an okay, and it doesn't help the Yankees have been kind of off. And yes, they went out and got Anthony Rizzo and Joey Gallo from the trade deadline, but I just feel like they're so far out that I don't know how much Garrett Cole is going to be able to do to help them. But he leads the league in the American League right now with 166 strikeouts, and hey, that's what the Yankees need is innings and strikeouts and anything they can do to try to stay alive in that crazy division that is the AL East. The innings pitched, Chris Bassett from the Oakland Athletics is 130 innings pitched. That's a lot for July. Oh my God. I think he'll be able to hit over 200. What do you guys think? Leading in saves for the American League, it's Liam Hendricks from the Chicago White Sox. His 25 saves, and all I got to say about that man is he is nuts, and he doesn't care about what you have to say. He just wants to show you that he's better than everybody. But now let's get to the National League, and let's talk about averages. Nick Castellanos leads the National League with a 329 average. Francisco Tatis, we talked about him a little bit earlier. He leads the league right now with 31 home runs. That is crazy. That is a ridiculous number right now. That is crazy that Francisco Tatis has 31 home runs in that's just ridiculous. It's July, people. He's going to hit 50. He was going to hit 50 easily if he did not get injured, but hopefully Francisco Tatis comes back and we'll have to see. Leading in RBIs from the Miami Marlins, he was on the Milwaukee Brewers. If you remember a few years ago, it was Jesus Aguilar? I think that's how you say it. Yeah, Aguilar. He's a really good pitcher he was a really good hitter, not pitcher. I'm sorry. I'm talking about Shohei Ohtani too much. Anyway, he's a really good hitter on the Brewers, and he was doing the same thing for Miami, but Miami obviously is not going anywhere. So, that just keep loading up the RBIs, Aguilar. Leading with runs and stolen bases is Francisco Tatis. I don't know why I said Francisco Lindor. Francisco Tatis, he has 78 runs and 23 stolen bases. And like I said, I know that, it's going to be a huge loss for the Padres. And, they went out and got Adam Frazier. So it's Adam Frazier could definitely pick up the slack, and they have a lot of good young players, and they have a really, people were considering them an all-star team a few months ago, and then they went out and got Adam Frazier, and they go out and just continuously do these things. It's just crazy. So hopefully Tatis can come back, because I want to see him play. And as a White Sox fan, and him growing up in the White Sox system, I'm happy that he's doing the things he's doing, and I hate to see him get hurt, even though I want to see him in the black and white uniform. But now let's get to the wins and the pitchers, and let's talk about what's going on with the pitchers in the National League. With wins right now, leading the pack, it's Kyle Hendricks and Julio Urias from the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're tied with 12 wins right now. I know I didn't mention the wins for the American League. There are 5 players tied with 12 wins right now. So, yeah. The losses for the American League are Albert Arias. Alberto. I can't even say his name. I'm so sorry. Albert Alonso. I think that's how you say it. The pitcher from the Cubs. He has 11 losses this season, and like we talked about with the Cubs, they did their fire sale. They traded Craig Kimbrell, they traded Ryan Tepera, they traded Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, Javier Baez. They got rid of their whole core and pretty much their whole entire team, except Wilson Contreras and Jason Hayward. So I expect that number to go up. But it's okay, because the Cubs did get a lot of good young players, and hopefully they work out, because I just don't want, even though they are the Cubs, and as much as I hate the Cubs, I want to see, like, Nick Madrigal. I want to see him do good. Cody Hoyer do good. I want to see the guys the Sox had do good on the Cubs. Other than that, not bad Cubs. Anyway, let's not bash the Cubs too much, because that's not what this is about. Let's talk about ERA, though, in the National League. Corbin Burns of the Milwaukee Brewers has a 2.12 ERA in the National League right now, and he's having a phenomenal season, and that's a big reason why the Brewers are where they're at. Let's talk about Ks. With strikeouts, Zach Wheeler has 160 Ks, and he's just mowing everybody down this season. Excuse me. Walker Buehler has 135.2 innings pitched. And, I thought 130 was a lot, but I didn't realize Walker Buehler had a lot more. I just cannot speak a lot sometimes, people. Oh my God, maybe I just get nervous while I'm talking. I don't know, but you just got to get it out, let it go. Just feel that you just got to get the mojo back. Anyway, let's get back to the leaders in the MLB and what's going on. For saves in the National League, it's Mark Malenko from the San Diego Padres. And the Padres are having a phenomenal season. And yes, they aren't doing really good in the division, but if it stays this way, it looks like the Dodgers and the Padres will be playing in the one-game wild card, because as of right now, the Cincinnati Reds, they are 56-50, and they're playing really good baseball, but I just don't see them being able to catch the Padres, especially once if Tatis gets healthy and Adam Frazier and all the good pitchers that they have. I just don't see anybody beating them. But while we're talking about the records and the standings, let's do that next. And while we're at it, I just gave you all the leaders, what's going on in the baseball, but now let's talk about all the division leaders, the teams that are in it, the teams that I think kind of fell out of it the last month, and teams that, who's in it, who's out, what's going to go on for August, September. We only got 2 months and a week left of the baseball season. I cannot believe how fast that went. It's almost football season, people. If you haven't yet, start signing up for Fantasy Football League. Start doing your thing, because your boy Tino will get you covered for the football season and for the fantasy football season. But let's get back to baseball, and let's talk about the American League and the standings right now. Last time we talked, there was a lot of things that were different. And still, there are teams that are still in first place that there were in the beginning of the month. And there are teams that have caught up a little bit, teams that have fallen a lot. But let's just get into it. The Tampa Bay Rays lead the division right now by a half a game. And actually, while I'm recording, this is being recorded on Sunday night at 7:37 p.m. while I'm watching Sunday Night Baseball. The Tampa Bay Rays and Boston Red Sox are playing a really good series, and actually right now the game is 3-1 in the bottom of the 5th with men on first for the Tampa Bay Rays. So that could either be a tied division, or the Tampa Bay Rays could take a game division. That would be really good. The Yankees are kind of climbing back because they went out and got Anthony Rizzo and Joey Gallo. They did their thing the last few couple days, and we'll have to see what happens throughout the next few couple months with them adding the pieces that they did. But, it will be really interesting to see what happens with these guys. And I cannot wait to see what happens, because also the Toronto Blue Jays, we just talked about Jose Berrios and stuff. The Toronto Blue Jays are 54-48. They're 7.5 out of the division right now, but they are only 3.5 out of the wild card. So, I mean, there's still a shot at the wild card. They do got to get over the New York Yankees, because the New York Yankees are also in the wild card picture. But that wild card game might be one deadly game, because if it stays the way it has right now, we could see Red Sox versus Yankees. We could see Athletics Yankees, Blue Jays Yankees. We could see all types of different matchups, and I cannot wait to see what happens at the end of this month. But I know I've spent a little bit of too much time talking about the AL East, but that division has got 4 teams in it that are fighting for the race, and we got to talk about it. But let's talk about 2 divisions that only have 2 teams really competing. Let's not even, because I want to say 2 teams are competing in each of them. But first, let's talk about the AL Central, because the Chicago White Sox right now are 62-44. They have a run differential of 113 right now. They own a 9-game lead versus the Cleveland Indians after they took 2 out of 3 this past weekend, after Brian Goodwin hit a walk-off on Sunday to win the game 2-1 in the bottom of the 9th. The White Sox were able to come out and take the series and win 2 out of 3, and they did exactly what they needed to do, because if the Indians were to sweep, or if the Indians were to do that, and they would have been 5 games out, but the Sox were able to take 2 out of 3, and they were able to at least gain 1 game throughout this series, and now they are still in a good spot to take the AL Central, because honestly, with the Indians trading Cesar Hernandez, the starting second baseman, to the Chicago White Sox, it really doesn't make too much sense why they would do that if they're not competing, but we'll have to see what happens in the next few months. Hopefully the Chicago White Sox can keep that lead going, because as a White Sox fan, I love watching this, and after 15-16 years of misery, it's finally fun to watch a baseball team on the South Side again. Black and white forever. South Side. But now, let's talk about the AL West, and let's talk about the Houston Astros and the Oakland A's. The Astros are sitting at 64-42 with a 4.5 game lead over the Oakland Athletics that have a 60-47, and like I said, they're 4.5 games out. But the Astros and the Athletics are always fun series to watch, and honestly, I don't know what's going to happen in the next month, and we'll see what happens when we do get to the August recap. But I don't know how much, the Astros are just so packed, and they're so deadly, and they got so much offense. I don't know what's really going to happen, and I don't know if Oakland is going to be able to catch them. Oakland's a really good team, don't get me wrong. They went out and got Starling Marte. I just don't know how, maybe the Astros will fall apart. I hope they do, because trash cans, bang, 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 it's always going to be a thing now, and, I just can't. I don't know. I really hope the Athletics somehow find a way to win the division, but right now I just don't see anybody catching the Astros, even though the Astros don't have that big of a lead, and, the White Sox got a 9-game lead, and that's huge. But, you never know. So, let's talk about the National League. And let's talk about all the division leaders. Let's talk about the New York Mets. We talked about them a lot in this show, actually, because we've been talking about Javier Baez, Francisco Lindor, Jacob deGrom. I didn't talk about it in the injuries, but he had a setback, and it doesn't look like he will be back in time to when they thought he would be. So hopefully he will be back soon and he can be ready for the playoffs, because as of right now, they have a 3.5 game lead over the Philadelphia Phillies, but the Philadelphia Phillies are playing decent baseball. They have a 52-53 record, and yeah, it's 1 game under, but the Mets haven't really been playing like great baseball. They lost Francisco Lindor. That was a big reason why they went out and got Javier Baez. So, we'll have to see what happens with that, but I see it. I would not mind seeing the Braves jump both of those teams and taking that division eventually, because I deep down kind of like the Braves, and, they're that young, scrappy team, and they're that, Ronald Acuna Jr. is out for the season after that horrible injury, and, they're just the team that I would love to see in the playoffs, and why not jump both of them? But let's talk about the National League, because the National League, let's talk about the National League. Let's talk about the National League Central. I'm sorry. Let's talk about the National League Central, and let's talk about the Milwaukee Brewers. The Milwaukee Brewers are 63-42, and they are 20 games over 500. They have a run differential of 89 plus. They are 7-3 in their last 10. They have a 7-game lead over the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds are 56-50, and honestly, like I talked about the Chicago White Sox and the Houston Astros a little bit, the White Sox got a 9-game lead. The Astros have a 4.5-game lead, but their offense is just deadly. And just like those two teams, the Milwaukee Brewers are a team that I just don't know if they'll be able to catch them. Like I said, you never know what can happen. But, I just don't see anybody being able to catch them. And the St. Louis Cardinals are 9.5 games out. They're 53-52, but they're the Cardinals. And, they might have a really good August and September like they always do in the past. But I think the hole is just too deep. And speaking of Chicago, the NL Central, the Cubs traded away everybody. Like we talked about, they traded away Baez, Rizzo, Kimbrel. They did it. They did the farewell. They cut up the cord. They cut up all of the Cubs, all the players that were around during the championship team. And, it's a sad day as a North Side fan, not as a South Side fan. A South Side fan, I'm having fun. As a North Side fan, though, on the other side of Chicago, it's not really fun because you don't want to see your players get traded. But like they talked about, you had to do what you had to do because you needed to get something for these guys. You weren't going to win anything again with them. So if you can, go and get some of them. And they were, like I said, they were able to go get the fifth prospect in the Mets program. They were able to go get the 8th and 9th guy from the Yankees. So they did really good. They went on and got Nick Madrigal from the Chicago White Sox in the Craig Kimbrel deal, and Nicky Two Strikes. If you don't know who Nick Madrigal is, he was a really good hitter. He tore his hamstring, and he is a great contact. He bats 300 plus with 2 strikes, and he's going to be a great second baseman in the future. So the Cubs did do really good. And hey, Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant and Baez are free agents, so you never know. The Cubs will come back, and maybe Rizzo will take a deal, and maybe he just wants to win a title with the Yankees, even though I don't think the Yankees will make the playoffs, in my opinion. But we'll have to see. Maybe they'll make the wild card game. But yeah. So we'll have to see. But enough about the NL Central, because again, nobody wants to talk about one thing for too long. The Milwaukee Brewers look like they got that division in hand. So we'll have to see when we talk about in August. Well, when we get to August, at the end of August, and when we do the August recap, and see what happens. But next time we do talk at the end of August, football season will almost be beginning. We'll have a month and 2 weeks left of the season. It's going to be crazy. But the last division I want to talk about, it's the NL West. And right now, the surprise of the season, the San Francisco Giants are 66-39, people. They have a run differential of 120, and they just went out and got Chris Bryant. And in his first game as a San Francisco Giant, he hits a home run, and he said, "Welcome to San Francisco." I like I mentioned earlier, all 3 Cubs players hit home runs in their debuts for their new teams. I guess the Cubs players, they might have been sad, but maybe they really did want to get out of there. The Dodgers, on the other hand, they went out and got blockbusters. Go listen to my trade deadline special. But they went out and got Max Scherzer from the Washington Nationals, and they also got Trey Turner. The Dodgers were going for blood, and they're like, we're slitting that throat like The Undertaker does. And they were like, we're trying to take the NL. We're trying to take that trophy back. And they said, we're just building an all-star team. They are right now 64-43 with a run differential of 167. That's just saying a lot. They got a lot of power on that team. And yes, they're 3 games out of the division right now, but we'll have to see what happens, because you never know what can happen in the next 2 months. And I'm sure the Dodgers and Giants will face each other. Yeah, they actually do face each other a few more times. So we'll have to see what happens. But that series and that rivalry is just getting better throughout the months. And as they play each other, I cannot wait to see what happens in the NL West. And we talked about the Padres a little bit with the wild card, because it doesn't look like the Padres will be able to catch the Dodgers or Giants. And hey, you never know but it just looks like as of right now, it looks like it's going to be the Padres and Dodgers. As of right now, it would be the Padres and Dodgers playing in that one-game wild card, and to be honest, I don't see anybody catching them. So in my opinion, I think the only race that really is up for grabs in the National League is with the Mets and Phillies, and that's kind of not even a close one either, because if Francisco Lindor comes back, if Javier Baez does what Javier Baez has been doing his first few games, and as living in Chicago, having a lot of friends as Chicago Cubs fans, and watching some Chicago Cubs games, you know how Javier Baez is. So I don't see anybody leading the league. I don't see anything changing from the National League and in the wild card, but we'll have to see. You never know. But now for the American League. The American League one now is a little bit more interesting because we talked about the Astros and the Rays and the Red Sox and the White Sox and the Oakland Athletics and the Yankees and stuff like that. But right now, in the wild card, because if you guys didn't know, I went through all the divisions and now I'm talking about the wild card race. So we went over the NL wild card race with the Padres and Dodgers, but now with the American League, it's a little bit more interesting. It looks like the Red Sox will probably win the first seed wild card unless they completely fall apart and Kyle Schwarber doesn't come back from his injury, and if he can't get going to what he was doing with the Nationals, and if Chris Sale doesn't come back, we'll have to see. But as of right now, it looks like they're going to keep that number one wild card. But for the second wild card, it looks really interesting. It could be the Oakland Athletics, the New York Yankees, the Toronto Blue Jays, or the Seattle Mariners. I'm going to say Seattle because Seattle, speaking of Seattle, I didn't mention a lot, but Hector Santiago, the relief pitcher that was the first guy actually that was suspended because of the new sticky stuff rule, he was found to be having PEDs, and now he was suspended 60 games of the season. So that's not very good. In Seattle, they went out and traded Kevin Graveman, and they went out and they gave the Astros their best relief pitcher. And some of the people, even from Seattle, said that they weren't very happy about that, and they were very disappointed that the Mariners decided to go in that direction because they really felt like they had a shot, and they still do have a shot. They're 3.5 games out of the second wild card. But when you give your division rival and you give one of the teams that is they're the best team in the American League right now, when you go and give them your best bullpen guy, that just isn't gonna help. And now the Mariners are gonna have to try to do it without him. But the baseball season has been crazy so far. We've seen so many things go down. We've seen teams. This is honestly, I didn't talk about it too much in the show, but my trade deadline special, I have never seen so many trades go down. And that is only because there are so many teams that are competing. There are so many contenders. There are some sellers like the Cubs and the Orioles and the Twins and the Rangers and stuff like that. But there are a lot of teams that still believe that they're in it. And these next 2 months of baseball are going to be amazing. And if you're as much as a baseball fan as I am, I cannot wait to live the dog days of summer, to live August and September, and see what goes down, because I love baseball, and it's the best time of the year, and it's the best time of the summer. End of July, August, summer's going by, it's flying, but that's okay because, it's going to come and go, and we can't change it, so let's just enjoy it while it lasts. But that's the way. It's not, this podcast ain't about the weather, so let's not talk about the weather anymore. So I hope everybody enjoyed your boy Tino's monthly update of the baseball season and everything that's been going down in the major leagues. I hope everybody enjoyed. Remember to smash that subscribe button, follow, go follow me. Sorry, I got to move my head. At TinoTime1996 on Instagram, on Twitter. Go follow at TinoTime Wrestling on Instagram. Go follow me at TinoTime10 on Facebook and Tino's Time Wrestling on Facebook. Just go follow and help your boy out. And until we do an August recap and your boy Tino comes back in 30 days and we catch up about everything that happened in the baseball season in August, this is your boy Tino, signing out.